Okay, so we'll just watch a short video, a dialogue between Krishnaji and Father Eugene Charlotte, who was a professor at University of San Francisco. He's also a Jesuit father. So we'll have a screening of that video and then we can have a dialogue around it. So I'll just share the screen. Bear with me for a minute. You can see the video now?
Now, the me, is it possible to completely empty the mind of the me? Not only at the conscious level, but deep, at the deep unconscious roots of one's being.
I think it's not only possible, but I think it's the price that we must pay for being or being good or being true or being at all. Living is the price to live. The price we must pay is to rid ourselves of meanness.
Is there a process, a system, a method to end the me?
No, I don't think there's a process or a method.
Therefore, there is no process. It must be done instantly. Now, this we must be very clear.
Must be
because
done.
All the religions have maintained processes. Whole evolutionary system psychologically is a process. If you say, and to me that's a reality, that it cannot possibly be a process, which means a matter of time, degree, gradualness, then there is only one problem, which is to end it instantly.
Yes, to destroy the monster at one step.
Instantly.
Yes. It's unquestionably what must be done. We must destroy meanness.
No, destroy, I won't use the ending of the me, with all the accumulation, with all the experiences, what it has accumulated, consciously and unconsciously, can that whole content be thrown out? Not by effort, by me. If I say by me, I'll throw it out, it is still the me.
Yes.
Or if I throw it out by exertion of will, it is still the me. The me remains.
It is not, clearly in my mind, it is not an act or an activity of the mind, nor an activity of the will, nor an activity of the feelings, nor an activity of the body, which will help me to see me. Pardon me.
No,
will help me to see.
See. Yeah.
And since we in this world are so wrapped up with doing, with having, with acting, we really don't understand reflectively and profoundly what takes place before we act or before we possess. I think that it's incumbent upon us to reflect backwards and see that there is seeing before seeing takes place, in the two senses of the word seeing. Just as there is loving before one becomes aware of loving. And certainly just as there is being before one becomes aware of being.
Yes, but
it's the question of reflecting backwards, inwardly, deeply enough.
That's a difficulty, because the me is at a conscious level and then at the deeper levels of consciousness. Can the conscious mind examine the unconscious me and expose it? Or the content of consciousness is the me?
No, the self transcends the content of consciousness, but the me may well be the content of consciousness. But the me is not the I. The me is not the self.
wait, I include in the me, the self, the ego, the whole conceptual ideation about myself, the higher self, the lower self, the soul, the body. All that is the content of my consciousness, which makes the I, which makes the ego, which is the me.
It certainly makes the me, yes. I unquestionably agree with that, that it makes that objective self that I can examine and analyze and look at, compare, that I can be violent with others about. It's explanatory, if you will, or the summation of the whole thing, which you put in the word me. It's explanatory of a history, of a whole multiplicity of,
Yes,
of present relationships, but it's still not getting at the reality.
No, the reality cannot be got at, or it cannot flower if the me is there.
Whenever, as I said before, whenever I insist upon viewing you as me, then the reality cannot flower and freedom will not be.
So can the content of my consciousness, which is the me, which is my ego, myself, my ideations, my thoughts, my ambitions, my greeds, all that is the me, my nation, my desire for security, my desire for pleasure, my desire for sex, my desire for to do this and do that, all that is the content of my consciousness. As long as that content remains, there must be separation between you and me, between good and bad, and the whole division takes place. Now, we are saying the emptying of that content is not a process of time.
Nor is it subject to methodology.
Methodology. So then what is one to do? Let's look at it. Let's take time a little bit over this, because it's quite important, because most people say you must practice, you must strive, you must make a tremendous effort, live discipline, control, suppress.
I'm very familiar with all that.
That's all out.
That has not been helpful.
Not at all.
No.
So how is the content to be emptied with one stroke, I say?
I would say and maybe we could pursue this together. The content cannot be emptied by a negative action of repudiation of the content.
No, obviously.
So we must not, that is a blind alley.
Obviously.
We must not approach it that way.
By denying it, you are putting it under the carpet. I mean, it is like locking it up.
Yes.
It is still there.
It's a pretense.
That just, one has to see this. One has to be tremendously honest in this.
Yes.
Otherwise, one plays tricks upon oneself. One deceives oneself. I see clearly, logically, that the me is the mischief in the world.
Well, I don't see that so logically as simply intuitively.
I mean, all right.
It's not the result of a discursive act.
No, of course
it's not. A dialectic.
Analytical dialectic. You see it. You see a selfish human being, whether it's politically high or low, you see human beings selfish and how destructive they are. Now the question is, can this content be emptied so that the mind is really empty and active and therefore capable of perception?
Probably the content cannot be simply emptied. I think that the content can be put in a perspective or can be seen for its inadequacy or its inappropriateness by a very energetic act of simply seeing. That's what I said in the beginning, that so long as I look at the truths of any given religion, I am not finding truth itself. And the way I discover the relative value of the truths of any given religion is precisely by seeing truth itself. In itself, not as an object.
No, I cannot. the mind cannot perceive the truth if there is division. That I must stick to you.
Once you have a vision of any kind,
That's finished.
then you're in the categorical level, and then you will not see it.
Therefore, my question is how, whether the mind can empty its content.
Well,
Because this is really, you follow the.
I follow what you're saying, and I think you are devising a new methodology.
No, I'm not devising a method. I don't believe in methods. I think it's the most mechanical, destructive things.
But then you, after having said that, then you come back and say, but if the mind is if the self is really to see, it must empty itself of concept. Isn't this a method?
No.
But why, sir, is it not a method?
I'll show you, sir. It's not a method because we said, as long as there is division, there must be conflict. That is so, politically, religiously. And we say division exists because of the me. Me is the content of my consciousness. And that the emptying of the mind brings unity. I see this not logically, but as fact, not conceptually. I see this in the world taking place. And I say, how absurd, how cruel are all these things. And the perception of that empties the mind. The very perceiving is the act of emptying.
What you're suggesting is that the perception of the inappropriateness of the content of consciousness or of the me, the perception of that, the inadequacy of this or the truthlessness of the me is in itself the discovery of being. I think we should pursue that.
We should.
Because I wonder if the perception is in fact that negative or might in fact be very positive.
No.
That it's rather in the simple seeing of the being of things, and it wouldn't have to be me or you in the objective sense. It could be this table or my hand or whatever, that I discover the inadequacy of such things as the content of consciousness or these objective sorts of things like me or you in the objective sense. So it may be a rather profound display of intellectual or rather personal energy that simply makes itself by reason of the display visible to me. It's easy, it's dissipating, and at the same time, it's easy to deal with concepts. We've agreed on that. It's easy to create concepts. We've agreed on that. It's easier, I maintain, to see simply.
Of course.
Prior to concepts.
Seeing.
Just simply seeing.
So, there is no perception if that perception is through an image.
There's no perception if the perception is through an image. I think that is very true.
Now, the mind has images.
The mind is bedeviled with images.
Just think. It has images. I have an image of you and you have an image of me. These images are built through contact, through relationship, through you are saying this, you are hurting me, and it's built. It is there, which is memory. The brain cells themselves are the residue of memory, which is the image formation, right? Now, the question then is, memory, which is knowledge, is necessary to function. Technically, to walk home or drive home, I need memory. Therefore, memory has a place as knowledge. And knowledge as image has no place in relationship between human beings.
I still think that we are avoiding the issue at hand, because I think what you have said relative to the question of memory is, as you have suggested, terribly important. But I don't think that memory or the repudiation of memory, like consciousness or the repudiation of the content of consciousness, is the solution to the problem. I think what we have to do is say, how is it, Krishnaji, that you, and I'm not talking methodology now, but I know that you have seen, how is it that you saw or that you see? And don't tell me what you eliminated in order to describe to me what
how I saw.
How you
simply see.
Yes, now suppose you wanted to say to someone who had no such experience, you simply see, because I say the same thing myself all the time. Well, you simply see. And people say, you simply see how? And we must somehow or other, if we are to be teachers, deal with
yes,
let me take you by the hand and I will show you how to see.
I'll show you. I think that's fairly simple. First of all, one has to see what the world is. See what is around you. See. Don't take sides.
Yes. I think our terminology may get in the way here. Suppose rather than say one must start by seeing what the world is, we would start by saying one must see the world, not concerned with natures or categories.
See the world.
Yeah, know what?
See the world.
See the world.
That's same thing. See the world.
Yes.
See the world as it is. Don't translate it in terms of your concepts.
Now, again, could I say, see the world as it is ising?
Yes, put it there. I mean,
does that help? I mean, we're trying to
see the world as it is. You cannot see the world as it is if you interpret it in your terminology, in your categories, in your temperament, in your prejudices. See it as it is, violent, brutal, whatever it is.
Or now, good or beautiful.
Whatever it is. Can you look at it then? Which means, can you look at a tree without the image of the tree? Botanical and all the naming, just look at the tree.
And once you have discovered, and it's not easy in our world to discover, the simple experience of seeing the tree without thinking treeness, or its nature, or as you say, its botany and things of that kind. Then what would you suggest is the next step in the pursuit of seeing?
Then seeing myself as I am.
Underneath the content of your consciousness.
Seeing all, not underneath, I haven't begun yet. I see what I am. Therefore, self-knowing. There must be an observation of myself as I am, without saying how terrible, how ugly, how beautiful, how sentimental, just to be aware all the movement of myself, conscious as well as unconscious. I begin with the tree, not method, process. I see that. And I must see this way myself. The hypocrisy, the tricks I play, in fact, the whole of that watchfulness, without any choice, just watch. Know myself, knowing myself all the time.
But in a non-analytical fashion.
That's of course. Therefore, but the mind is trained to be analytical. So I have to pursue that. Why am I analytical? Watch it. What we being analytical? Seeing the futility of it. It takes time, analysis, and you can never really analyze, whether by a professional or by yourself. So see the futility of it, the absurdity of it, the danger. So what are you doing? You are seeing things as they are. Actually, what is taking place?
My tendency would be to say that when we discuss this, we may use these words like seeing the self in its fullness with all of its negative and positive polarities.
Yes.
Seeing the self in its fullness, and then realizing the futility of looking at analytically looking at certain dimensions of a self, and then saying, but I still must see.
Of course.
Because at this point I have not yet seen. As all I've seen are the analytical categories I've used to take myself apart somehow or other in little pieces.
That's why I say, can you look at the tree without the knowledge?
Without the prior conditioning.
Prior condition. Can you look? Can you look at a flower and without any word?
I can see how one must somehow or other be able to look at the self. I must be able to look at you, Krishnamurti, and not use the word Krishnamurti. Otherwise, I will not see you.
That's right.
But this is true.
That's right.
Now, after I have learned through thinking to say somehow or other, I must see you and not even use the word.
Oh,
then
the word, the form, the image, the content of that image, and all the rest.
Whatever the word denotes, I must not use.
So that requires tremendous watchfulness.
Yes, it requires
watchfulness in the sense, not correction, not saying I must not, watching.
When you use the word watching, and I think again, because we are teaching, we must be careful of our words.
Being aware, what it doesn't matter what word uses.
Watching has the connotation of observation, and observation has the connotation of putting something out there to look at under a microscope, as a scientist would do. And I think this is what we don't want to teach.
No, of course. Of course.
So now, if you could use again, Krishnaji, the word watching.
Instead of watching, being aware, choicelessly aware.
Choicelessly aware, fine. All right. Now, this we must do.
Yeah. Choicelessly aware of this dualistic, analytical, conceptual way of living. Be aware of it. Don't correct it. Don't say this is right, this. Be aware of it. And we are aware of this so intensely when there is a crisis.
I think we have another problem that precedes this one by an inch. And I think the other problem is, what kinds of questions can I ask myself in order to be aware of you and not use the categories, or to be aware of the fact that in being aware of you, I am using the categories and the stereotypes and all these other funny images that I use all the time? Is there some way in which I can address myself to you using certain kinds of words, not ideas, words that don't relate to ideas at all, using certain kind of words that don't relate to ideas, that somehow or other will teach me or teach you or teach whomsoever that there is something more important or more significance in you than your name or your nature or your content or your consciousness or your good or your evil. What words would you use if you were to teach a young person or an old person, because we all have the problem? What words would you use in order to make it understandable in a non-rational, or rather in a pre-rational way, that you are more than your name connotes?
I would use that word, I think, be choicelessly aware. To be choicelessly aware. Because to choose as we do is one of our great conflicts.
And we, for some strange reason, associate choice with freedom, which is the antithesis of freedom. It's absurd, yes.
Of course.
But now, so then to be freely aware.
Yeah, freely, choicelessly.
Not in the sense of choicelessness, freely aware. Yeah. Now, suppose that someone would want to say, but sir, I don't understand completely what you mean by choicelessly aware. Can you show me what you mean?
First of all, choice implies duality.
Choice implies duality.
But there is choice. I choose that carpet better than the other carpet. But there, at that level, it is choice must exist. But when there is an awareness of yourself, choice implies duality. Choice implies effort.
Choice implies a highly developed consciousness of limitation.
Yes, yes. Choice implies also conformity.
And choice implies conformity.
Yeah.
It's cultural conditioning.
Conformity. Conformity means imitation.
Yes.
Imitation means more conflict, trying to live up to something. So there must be an understanding of that word, not only verbally, but inwardly. The meaning of it, the significance of it. That is, I understand the full significance of choice. The entire choice.
May I attempt to translate this now?
Yes.
Would you say that choiceless awareness means that I am somehow or other conscious of your presence to the within of me, and I don't need the choice? The choice is irrelevant. The choice is abstract. The choice has to do with the categories. When I don't feel, having seen you, that I must choose you, or choose to like you, or choose to love you, that no choice is involved, then would you say I have choiceless awareness of you?
Yes, but you see, sir, is there in love choice? I love. Is there choice?
There is no choice in love.
No, that's just it. Choice is a process of the intellect. I explain this as much as we can, discuss it, go into it, but I see the significance of it. Now, to be aware, what does that mean, to be aware? To be aware of things about you outwardly, and also to be aware inwardly, what's happening, your motives, your anxiety. To be aware, again, choiceless. Watch, look, listen, so that you are watching without any movement of thought. The thought is the image. Thought is the word. To watch without thought coming and pushing you in any direction, just to watch.
I think you used a better word before when you said
Aware.
to be aware.
Yes, sir.
Because it's an act of existence rather than an act of the mind or the feelings or anything. So then I have to somehow or other become eventually, and therefore be aware in a precognitive sense of your presence.
Be aware. That's
and this antecedes choice.
Yes.
And it makes choice unnecessary.
There's no choice. Be
There's
aware.
no choice.
There's no choice.
Be aware. Choiceless awareness is.
From there, there is an awareness of the me. Awareness, how hypocritical, how, the whole of the movement of the me and the you.
Sir, you're moving backwards now. We've already.
Well, I know. I moved so that we related to, so that there is this quality of mind that is free from the me, and therefore no separation. I don't say that we are one, but we discover the unity as a living thing, not a conceptual thing, when there is this sense of choiceless attention.
Yes, that's right. Unmute yourself.
Yes, thank you, Dubeyji. Are you able to hear my voice?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. This is a very good video. And both these people they are listening to each other very, very attentively, and they agree on most of the things, yet their language are different. In case of Krishnamurti, maybe he was born with a kind of a vacant mind, which can see things without images, without word, without knowledge, without the sense of me. Probably he was like that from childhood. And many of us also see clearly like a flower in the garden when we are young, and we don't think so much about the flower or the butterfly. So we also have that kind of seeing without thinking, without knowledge. But when we are young, our brain is not much developed. But then when we go to school, college, university, then we acquire a lot of knowledge about the whole outside world, and we have lots of words. And then our looking at the flower or a bird is through this word, and it is not a clear seeing without the word, without the knowledge. So I think most of us, we go through this acquiring knowledge, and then knowledge making things looking very dull. But then I feel that there is a possibility of having the knowledge, but looking at everything fresh without that knowledge operating while looking. So how that can happen, I would say that normally our mind is thinking one thought after the another thought. There is a kind of a continuity of thinking, and we are not aware, and we are not thinking, but thinking is happening, and our life is lived just like that. We never look at a tree or a flower, stop. But when we read a book of Krishnamurti, now I am talking from my experience, that when you read a book of Krishnamurti and the way he is writing it, then you become curious. And a person who has the ability to be alone, to be curious, to be attentive, having sensitivity, passion, to look at the inner world, to go really right at the root from where thinking is originating. So all this kind of work is necessary. Just because Krishnamurti says, look at the tree without the word, and people may try to look at, nothing happens. Some kind of work of looking at one's own mind with curiosity, understanding how we are creating problems in our life by getting angry or having arguments and having jealousy and loneliness. As long as we have not looked at ourselves as we are, then all this what Krishnamurti says, it will be very intellectual, very confusing, and it will lead to many, many questions. And there is an endless questioning. But once a person is able to see his own mind clearly, and then it begins to change the quality of the brain, as Krishnaji used the brain cells in this video also, that these brain cells begin to change due to this inward looking clearly. And then that it affects the way we look at the outside world. Then we can look at a tree or a human being or a nature very, very clearly, though we have the knowledge of everything, but that knowledge doesn't come. And the knowledge is there, the content, it cannot be wiped out, but it doesn't operate when we are looking, when we are listening. And then even listening to Krishnamurti or any other human being, it becomes very, very attentive. You listen not only to the words, but what is the meaning behind the word. And then a kind of a communion happens between the speaker and the listener. And then when they both are at the same level, they feel that what the speaker is saying is very obvious. There is no question. You can say, yes, yes, it is true that it is possible to look at a tree or a human being without the knowledge operating. Now, Krishnaji sometimes talks about wiping out the content. I don't think the content, the knowledge can be wiped out, but the knowledge will remain dormant. And whenever it is required, it will be used. But this looking clearly, it can happen when there are changes happening within the brain, within the body. And then when such a thing happens, and then we look, we feel the strangeness about it. It's just looking without any choice, without any me coming into picture to describe it. And this is the thing, as long as a person has not felt it deeply, not living with it, then what Krishnamurti says will be, maybe intellectually it can become clear, but still that looking has not happened. So I'm saying from my experience of when I looked at Krishnamurti for the first time in 1977 in Ojai, it was complete meeting without thinking that he is a great man, he is a great person, the teacher. I just looked and with a silent mind, and his mind was also like that. So we had a real relationship. So we can have a relationship with nature, with human beings, not only with Krishnamurti, because many people who are getting interested in Krishnamurti also get attached to Krishnamurti, the image of Krishnamurti. But when you have the real understanding, real looking, then even that image of that the great teacher is there, it doesn't exist. So that is the real beauty of living without images. And when we can meet human beings with openness, nature, and all this. So I have said enough things right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Dinesh Waghmare.
Are you able to hear me, sir?
Yes.
Clearly?
Yes.
Today's topic is a mind free of me. This is very important subject, and the conversation is between JK and the speaker. It is difficult for me to take the name of that gentleman, but I would say that this is not new to us. Topic is not new to us, and we have discussed this earlier many times about how important it is to be free of conditioning and me. But wow, what to say today? I think today's conversation is one of the best conversation heard by me. I am highly impressed by the questioner. This is the first time the questioner is well prepared. He has done a proper homework. He was trying to remain in tune with JK all the time. and also pressing JK to remain in tune with him whenever necessary. He was not allowing JK to go out of track and pursuing him to remain to the point. Whenever he had not understood the exact meaning of JK's saying, he had not allowed the conversation to move ahead. He had repeated the meaning and his understanding in his own words and got confirmation from JK whether it is okay or not. The most important point is he had pinned the words of JK. He has pinned the words of JK, particularly seeing, observation, observed. For what does JK exactly mean by these words? And in what sense the JK is using these words? He has also pinned the word watching and even the word empty. He has gone in deep what JK means by the emptiness of mind, in respect of mind. Now, coming to the topic. JK says, first see the word as it is. For freeing the mind, first say the word as it is. See the tree without naming. I have been repeatedly earlier also discussed this point that only seeing of the tree will not take us much ahead, or it will not take us very far. Actually, this is just the starting or beginning. So here he has confirmed. He has when pushed. I dare say pushed JK. What do you mean by seeing and how it is to be? It is what are the steps? He has clearly asked JK, what are the steps? Then he said, first you see the world as it is. We see the tree without naming. And then he said, you see, you are me, means self-knowing. So one has to go for the self-knowing. And once he has gone for the self-knowing, and he discard both, means naming of the tree or the whatever the technical or other details available in his memory about the tree, he is avoiding. He avoided that. He avoided the thought about that, and at the same time, he has also kept aside his me. Understanding after understanding his me. So after that, there is a unity. What JK says, there is a unity. He said that it doesn't mean that you become tree or I become, say for example, when both are in conversation, I become you. But there is a unity. And that unity takes us ahead. That he has not said, but these are my views. It will take us ahead. Next. He said, when he has asked that emptying of mind is not a process of time, JK says. So what JK says, this it can happen only when one has understood the self-knowing me, and then he is able to, I am using the word, he is able to be free from it. Rather, emptying is also again a tricky use of the word mind. As Harshad sir has also said, it is not possible to empty the mind, because if you empty the mind, then either the person will become, will have dementia, or he will be like a zombie, or he will, I don't know, Alzheimer he will be having, or what. So we can't say. So that is not possible, but the knowledge will remain there, but it will not of significance, as JK said in this, that this when one sees or one has the perception, clear perception of the thing, what duality, what danger duality creates, or what problems duality creates, then probably his mind will be able to be free from it. Here my saying is, my views are, JK said, and JK, it is a subjective thing for JK to say that emptying of mind is not a process of time. In my case, I'm talking from my point of view. In my case, it is taking time. And why it is taking time, that also we have discussed earlier, but I would repeat that since we are having attachments, we are having our own desires, we are having our priorities in life, liabilities and all that. So there are so many things which actually we have created them, but we are not, our mind doesn't allow us to remain free of it. It takes most of the energy of us, or quite a large energy, large portion of energy of us, I would say. So I am taking time. I may be free of some. I am not that reactive as earlier I was, or I'm not that. What I should say. I'm not that as earlier. There is a change, but it's a partial change. When it comes to the worldly affairs, I can remain silent, or I can remain, my mind can remain silent, or it is not, as he said, the thought doesn't go in any direction. But when it comes to my individual problems, then I'm having my weaknesses, and it goes here and there, and then I have to tackle it. Right. Now, next we see, I would prefer to mention here that this questioner has used very good words. The questioner has used the word the inappropriateness of the content of consciousness, or inadequacy of content of consciousness in creating the division, or after creating the division. When the mind of a person understands that what division does, or any movement of thought basically in any direction is a division. And after that, once that division takes place, what happens? If the mind understands this thing, then I think it may be able to free of the content of consciousness. One more point is there, which is extremely important, I should say. That is the most important point, which the questioner has got the confirmation from JK. Here, the questioner says to be aware. Questioner says to be aware. It is an act of existence. It is an act of existence rather than act of mind or feeling. This is very important. To be aware has nothing to do with your intellectual freedom. It has nothing to do with your freedom from the feelings. It has nothing to do with your freedom of your emotions, but rather it is an act of existence. So I would go further from here. We have to understand that this is my experience, and this once he has talked about unity. So at that level, what is the agency which is giving you this experiencing, I should say, experiencing of unity? This is very important, because that agency itself, for the sake of convenience, I would say the word energy. Here, questioner has also at one place used the word energy. So that energy has to come forward, because it is doing all the tricks. And simple, when we say pure awareness, what quality of energy is inherent in this pure awareness? That also we have to see. So right now I would like to say this much, and then we will see what. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Dr. Pradeep Verma. Unmute. Unmute. Yes.
Okay. Dinesh has talked a lot about the views of the two speakers. I take up in a very different way. I have jotted certain points. How I see it. Let us see the challenges in attaining the state JK is talking about. We know that the me is the product of conditioning. That is clear to all of us. And conditions are changing from moment to moment, challenging human mind globally. Environmental changes affect human life and psyche silently compared to the noise of and the chaos created by human greed and mechanization. There are quick changes in human psyche generating a new me on daily basis. You see, mostly we go on adding to whatever we like or whatever it is or don't like. So it consolidates the me daily basis. So the me gets modified like virus very fast through social media viruses and relationships. One possibility, what I see in this whole thing, although it's a very difficult topic and discussed a lot between two very intelligent people, one possibility of what Jake is talking about, the instant emptying of total consciousness is when observer is totally available to the moment, totally available to the moment where the reality is expressing from moment to moment. It doesn't mean that the entire past is deleted forever. It just means that the watcher is aware at least in those moments. This is what I feel. Then ultimately, a lot has been discussed about seeing a tree. How you see has been discussed. How do you know that it's a tree without having anything about it, anything about that pattern? So some knowledge is there to me when you say it's a tree, but maybe further details are not there when you take up. So tree, you have to have memories, some memory about the tree. It's a tree, not a shrub or a herb. So how do you know it's a tree without any impression in your mind? And moreover, JK talks a lot about the beauty. The beauty is that harmonious variation you see in the nature. It is not possible. Seeing, and what does it mean to see things as they are? Who is there to certify that? Because my subjectivity or the subjectivity of all the people who see anything, observe anything, how it is clear to the person how he questions, or rather how he questions whether what I am seeing is not what is. So, and then ultimately it comes to awareness, ultimately, and in awareness, choiceless awareness, then awareness of the choices. Suppose there are awareness of the choices is choiceless awareness. If I am aware about the choice, is choiceless awareness. Then he says choice implies duality. And then suddenly he says, because choice belongs to the intellect. We also know that we have been talking about this duality of intellect and intelligence and so many other things. So, although he agrees to choice of a carpet, choice of a cloth, choice of a suit or a tie, so these things are there. So things don't become that easy if we simply read that simply. I have something interesting. Friends, there is a very interesting word made up of two me's. That is called double dose of me, is called meme. M-E-M-E, meme. Watching, because this word was coined very much sounding like gene. And the memes travel from mind to mind, unlike genes. So it's a very fast traveling. And this is being used by the market on daily basis. The memes are available all around us, freely available to all of us, affecting our psyche. And we are talking about free from the me, and whatever our surroundings is full of, it consolidates me in various forms, some known, some unknown, and some unknowable. So these are being effectively used by the market and in the industry. So this topic, the moment when I'm seeing something, if I'm free of conditioning, then that I can see, but I will always say that this is what it is. Each one of us will say, yes, it is like that. But whether it is again, nobody is there to tell us till the consequences, till the after effects of that is experienced by the person concerned. So this remains, even while in discussion, you might have seen it was quite penetrating. And ultimately, when we come to love and ask whether love has a choice, although what we know, we choose and love, rather love and choose, this is a common thing, but the love he's talking about is unconditional love. You see, so awareness and choiceless awareness and love, these ultimately, everything ends up in that. What proportion we have in us, in our being, we only know, if at all. Thank you very much, friends. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Srinivas Reddy. Please unmute yourself.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, you are.
Thank you. I have a doubt, sir. Does that awareness come into existence without stepping up that consciousness, the streaming of consciousness? Because unless we out of the consciousness, we cannot, that awareness doesn't come into existence. So as Krishnamurti said, with one stroke we have to throw away that consciousness, unless we are not in that consciousness, and not personally, that awareness doesn't come into existence. Then the question is, how can we throw away that consciousness with one stroke? It is a question I would like to ask you. Anyone can answer that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Harishji, please unmute yourself.
Okay, first of all, namaste, namaskar to everyone. During my journey with the teachings, I have come across people often passing remarks that choiceless awareness is the most difficult, most incomprehensible feature of part of Krishnaji's teachings. And when Krishnaji was asked by his partner to explain further what he means by choicelessness and all that, then Krishnaji tried his best, but I was not satisfied in the sense that I said to myself that he could certainly have been more lucid, more revealing, or he could have made his exposition or response more nuanced. Then the question is, then how do I look at choicelessness? Of course, he gave the example. Is there any choice in love? His partner readily agreed there is no choice. But honestly speaking, love is such a thing which at least I cannot claim that I have tasted. I know that love in which there is no choice. That is one thing. Second thing, to be more specific now, I am coming to that. You see, Krishnji never tired of talking about looking at the tree, looking at a person without the image. We all know that. And then he talks about looking at the thought. The reason is that if somebody has not at least been able to look at a tree or at someone without any image, then looking at one's thought very, very objectively is almost impossible. So Dr. Parekh or Dinesh or somebody rightly pointed out that for a beginner, it's a good exercise. First, we look at a tree and whatever, without the image, without the even word tree and all that. Okay, fine. So first step of choicelessness is, then how do I decide that I should stop looking at the tree and then I should look at the thought which says, my God, the tree is greener than yesterday. And then I remember, oh, last night there was a heavy downpour and it has washed the leaves clean. So the whole thought comes. Or I would like to see it again at the sunset. Maybe it will still look more beautiful. Now, in the storm, in the cyclone of all these thoughts, the actual seeing of the tree has been thrown to the winds. So what does one do? Should one keep watching the tree, even though, let me remind my friends that his partner objects to the use of the word watching and observing, and then Krishnji had to make that compromise, even though that is very close to his teachings. And then he uses the word awareness. And I really don't know, Krishnji probably forgot to mention one more word, which was very close to his heart, attention. And he even gives the example of flame of attention. So as I see, there should be no choice that I should keep looking at the tree, nor the choice that no, I will look only at my thought. So this awareness should work like a double-edged sword. Okay, that is one thing. Second thing is, I look at a human face and I say, oh my God, how handsome he is. It will be nice to make friends with him. So when I looked at a human face, it was just a face, which means what? A certain shape, size, texture, whether there were wrinkles or not, the complexion. But the moment I say, my God, it will be nice to be in the company of that person, to make friends with him, then the choice has come. So last thing is that I want to give a glaring example, and it is very easy. I remember on the day India was playing Australia in cricket, the whole nation was practically glued to the TV. That is, as the report came. And when my wife asked me, oh, you are not watching the score and all that, the sixer, the boundary and all that, and you are typing something. I said, well, I'm writing something. And of course, what I wrote, I put on my Facebook, LinkedIn, and I sent to some friends also, that even if India wins, will it bring any light, those 41 lives trapped in the darkness? Okay, if India wins, will it bring any light in the dark lives of those people whose sons and husbands or brothers were trapped inside. So I made a write-up, and some of you probably may remember. I sent to quite a few friends. So you see, that was a very good moment. What did we watch? The movement of the ball, the movement of the bowler as he came running through the ball, and the movement of the ball, without the thought whether India is bowling or an Australian is bowling. Who is batting? What were the flaws in the batting? So watching the pure game of cricket without the slightest thought that why India is not playing like it played the other day against England. So somebody has rightly said, life is our greatest guru. So it is not far to see such opportunities and occasions which gives us the opportunity to see how we choose while watching. But Krishnji was very brief, but even then I think it is not difficult for us to capture the essence of, as he explained, choicelessness. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Dinesh ji.
Are you able to hear me, sir?
Yes, yes.
First of all, I would like to say to Hareshwar ji that he has already used the word attention. He said that he has not used the word attention, but at the end he said there is a choiceless attention. When we are in unity and when we do not become one, but there is a unity in between us. And this is, in a sense, choiceless attention. He has used the word attention, number one. Number two, again, questioner has pinned JK for this choiceless awareness word. So at that time, twice they have discussed this point, and he said that actually it is a free awareness. What does JK mean by choiceless awareness? Is free awareness. When we see free awareness, means it is very clear. It is free from anything, no content. Or whatever, I should say, thought is not in a picture. Thought is not moving in any direction. As he said that you don't take any side. Thought is not moving in any direction. And in that case, this is required, or this is the case of free awareness. And in that, there is choiceless attention. But when we go for the outer things, choice is always there. Like he has given the example of tie and all that. And in that case, he has clearly explained that you have to go for the choices there. But at that time, you should also be aware of the whole structure of this division and duality. And then only you can be free from this, what we can say, this content of the consciousness. But choice will always be there when you go out and say you have to select a tie and all that. Similarly, in a way, he has explained in this choiceless awareness, what he said is basically technically all evolution will be there. Technically, all evolution will be there of the technical things, of your thought, of your this. When he says that you see the world, there is a brutality, there is a violence. So it clearly means that you have to be technically, your mind will remain aware of the this what is happening, but he will not take any sides. That is the only thing. Verma ji has also pointed out somewhere that when you see a tree, of course, when you see a tree, the memory of tree will always be there as a dormant, because you have seen earlier also that tree. So it may remain there, but you will be free from your thought. Your thought will not be moving in any direction in that case. So it is very clear that unity is possible when there is a thought is not moving in any direction. But If thought is moving, means you have to take a choice in the worldly affairs, then of course it is there. And as we have discussed earlier, he has said clearly the step number 2. You have to go for the self-knowing, you have to be free of that, your me, and then only this wisdom will come, and wisdom, and this awakening of intelligence, and with the help of intelligence or with your wisdom, you can do you can tackle the worldly things. Thank you. There will be creation also, of course, there. Thank you.
Yes, Prasad Garu. Please unmute. Yeah.
Sir, I find Krishnaji easier to understand than his interlocutors. Because, I mean, what he says seems to be simple, whereas his questioners, particularly the academicians among the questioners, they are very complicated. I mean, with all respect to the questioners, for example, today, I also don't get his name. He is a professor, and he is worried about how he has to teach his students. So he says, as teachers, we have to be more specific. And if we overinterpret Krishnaji, it becomes very difficult. For example, even Pradeep ji has raised this question. When we look at a tree, don't we have the idea of a tree in our mind? Is it not knowledge? I think such questions are very subtle and difficult to answer, but they don't take us anywhere. Normally, when you look at a tree, it doesn't stop with the impression that we are looking at a tree. So much of knowledge, particularly if a botanist is looking at the tree, he will have so much of knowledge about the species to which it belongs and all sorts of things. In the process, he misses the beauty of the tree. That is the point. That is, his knowledge is overpowering his sense of beauty. Otherwise, when you look at a tree, you can see its flowers, its leaves, its branches, and all that. It doesn't stop there. Your knowledge intervenes and prevents you from enjoying the beauty of the tree. Like that, the questioner today made a distinction. He objected to the word watching your thoughts. Ultimately, Krishnaji had to made a compromise, as Mr. Waghmare has said. He made a compromise and came back to that word, choiceless awareness. One thing we can always experience when you read a book of Krishnaji or hear a video by him, your mind becomes quiet without all these questions. Your mind becomes quiet. Sometimes at least I slip into sleep. That is because your agitations, mental agitations have subsided, and the video gives you a kind of peace. Similarly, the book. And I think one of the principals of the college, Rishi Valley School, earlier principals, he said, the way to read a book of Krishnaji is open the book, go outside the house, under the sun, you read a passage and contemplate it. One passage, contemplate it. It is like that. Today, the questions raised by that interlocutor are so complicated. And Krishnaji, of course, ultimately comes back always to what he says, his simple statements, awareness and all that. We all can see our own conditioning, our own minds are not free. That we can see easily. For example, today, the poll results of 5 states are on the TV. I had to make a choice whether I should attend the TV or attend this meeting. So you can see yourself operating in each step of your life, in every step. That is ultimately what he is, for me, that is ultimately what he is talking about. See your conditioning. And it is not a process. You can't make an effort to get rid of your conditioning, You can't make an effort because there is your me behind that effort. So you have just to see. How to see? The questioner asks, when I say see it, simply, see simply, how simply? That is the question raised. There is no how. If you are by reading constantly or regularly or whatever, you will understand that your mind is, you can see your conditioning. You may not get rid of your conditioning. It may be a big process, a big achievement. Or you should not even think it is an achievement. It is part of your life. You see your conditioning as a part of your life. And that is the end of it. There is no seeing how. How you see, there is no how in it. It is not a process. Just to see, that's all. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Prasad Garu. I just want to add to what Prasad Garu has just mentioned. I think analyzing every word of Krishnaji is a wastage of time and energy. I think my own experience with all these years has been that, I have heard him saying to the children that, can you watch the tree without naming it? The whole idea behind it that can you look at something and watch what goes inside your mind? How the knowledge plays tricks with your thinking. And once you shift from the external object to inside, you can watch your conditionings, when you have to deal with somebody, how you want to be, put your right foot first forward and all those machinations that goes inside our brain. So I think the onus is on us. Nobody is going to see what you have achieved. There's nothing to be achieved here anyway. I think it's important to see where you are, what goes inside you, and be aware of it. And the moment we all do that. The moment we say that this is good, bad, I shouldn't be doing this, I should be like him or somebody else, that is the game the mind plays with us. So it's important to watch ourselves rather than, going line by line as to who said what and what does it mean. That is what we all do in our analysis, which doesn't take us anywhere. This is what I wanted to say. Yes, Harshad bhai.
Yes, thank you, Dubey-ji. I agree with what you said. Trying to understand Krishnamurti is not going to make us understand. Only we have to look at our own mind, and those words of Krishnamurti, maybe it can help us. But not thinking about Krishnamurti, what he means by that, that is intellectual knowledge. I want to say about the title of this dialogue, A Mind Free of the Me. So it means that there is a mind which is free from me. That me comes from thinking. And so there is a state, a mind, which is free of thinking. And that is nothing but this choiceless awareness or seeing everything clearly. So as long as that awareness, pure awareness, has not happened in our life, what exists is only me thinking and feeling. And the strange thing is about that, that this awareness can exist along with me. That means this awareness, which is not me, can look at me clearly, me or whatever thoughts, whatever feelings, it can be seen clearly only when this awareness, choiceless awareness, is awakened. Otherwise, only continuity of thoughts keeps on going on in our mind, and it leads to confusion and many questions and doubts and all that. And one thing what I like to say about the process of time, Krishna ji is eliminating time, but I think, I feel that time is necessary to look and mature our state of mind, which can see things clearly. It doesn't happen just by saying that see without image or knowledge. One has to work very, very hard. And then when such a thing, and it cannot be done by will, cannot done by choice, but such a thing happens that at some stage, the mind becomes very silent, and then it is looking at everything. And at that time, when it happens for the first time in the life of a human being, he wonders that there is a different way of looking at everything. And then everything becomes, if a person continues with that awareness, choiceless awareness, then everything looks fresh every day. Even looking at the same tree or the same human being, you are seeing what is happening now. That means that person, the image you had, you don't look through that image, but you look at clearly all the expression on the face of the person, and everything is silently looking, listening. And so this is the real beauty in our human existence. If it happens that we can see a mind without me, if it really happens, it's really a great beauty. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So we have just 2 minutes, so I'll request Dinesh ji and Pradeep ji to just take 1 minute each, please. We'll like to close by 7:30.
I would like to say that Dubey sir and Parekh sir, whatever we are understanding you are saying, it has emerged because of so many years of remaining with the Krishnamurti teachings. But personally, I feel that other questioners should also probe the Krishnamurti for the exact meaning of the word he has used and in what sense he has used, because the words are having so many meanings.
Yes.
And unless you probe him, here it is very interesting that when Krishnamurti said, you see the division, problem with the division in the world. Can you see the logic of it? Immediately the questioner said that I see it intuitively, not logically. So Krishnamurti agreed for it, yes. So why? Because when there is a communication between two persons or conversation, both should come to the understanding of what other is talking, or what other is understanding of what said by the speaker. So I think this is the probing is very necessary, and it should have done by the other questioners also. Similarly, it is very clear that when we will go in this worldly affair, choices are there, and we are only talking of the psychological memories which are creating the problems, not the technical or other memories. When we say technical memories, even the technical memories of the emotions, feelings, and your senses or data also. So technically, you should know what is. You should see able to see the structure of emotions, feelings, what they do, and this total structure you should know, and then only you can proceed. So whenever we will go in worldly affairs, choice is there, and we have to go with that. So this understanding has to be emerge. That's what I feel. Thank you.
Thank you. Verma Sahab, we have run out of time. So if you don't mind, we'd like to close it now.
Do that. Do that.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Good night.
Good night, sir.